God is in everything I see. Really? Really? Yeah, let's put that over there. Thank you, Joyce. There's a story about 3 bricklayers. And there was a traveler walking down the road where there was some construction going on. And there was 3 workers there, and the traveler said to them, "What are you all doing?" The first one said, "I'm laying bricks." The second one said, "I'm building a wall." And the third one smiled and said, "I'm building a cathedral." Same work, different vision. Same world, different consciousness. Okay, let's put it to here. I'm going to church. I'm going to be with my spiritual family. I'm going to awaken my consciousness. Same church, same people, but all in a different form of consciousness, right? One guy, he was laying bricks, and the other one's going to build a cathedral. I'm intending to come in here and raise my consciousness. I'm doing all 3. I am going to church, and I am going to be with my spiritual family, but I'm going big time to raise my consciousness. When I first thought of this title, I almost talked myself out of it, because I thought, they're going to be thinking that, really? God is in everything I see? What about war? What about illness? What about death? What about loss? What about difficult people? God is in everything I see? And those are honest questions. This is an honest question. And today I'm not going to explain away pain. Unity never asks us to pretend that suffering is not real. Let me say that again. Unity never asks us to pretend that suffering is not real. Instead, unity invites us to ask a different question. Instead, unity invites us, right, to we don't let that have power over us. Does that make sense, right? I'm experiencing pain. My knee hurts. It's true in this human realm, okay, on this human plane. But I'm not giving that power over my peace, Can the presence of God still be discovered even in the midst of life's hardest moments? Yes, there's a lot of heads shaking yes. When I first came here, I would have said to the minister, "You don't know what I've been going through." I like that people are shaking their head. Yes, you're becoming awake more often than not when you know that God is still in the midst of everything, no matter what is happening in the physical world. The presence of God isn't something we bring into us. The presence of God is something we awaken to. And I think I may have said this to somebody this morning. The whole reason I'm here, and some of you have been here longer than me, and I'm like on 34 years. And some of you I know are here quite a bit longer than me. And why are we still coming here? Are we just slow to get it? I know I'm a slow learner, but 34 years, hello, right? It's not about learning it. It's about continually awakening. Because as soon as I leave here today and I go out there in traffic, I'm going to go to sleep again. I am going to forget that God is in everything I see at the moment that driver pulls out in front of me or goes right through a red light and thinks nothing of it anymore nowadays, right? What is it Michael says? Traffic laws are by suggestion anymore. So you got to drive with that awareness, right? So I loved last week when I did metaphysics with you regarding Bible verses support exactly what I'm saying here. Exactly what Mary L's been singing. Exactly what the Daily Word said. So I'm going to have some fun, again, with 3 Bible verses, and we're going to metaphysically interpret them. And if you don't know that term, metaphysical means above the physical, right? Beyond the physical meaning. Beyond the literal meaning in the Bible, we take it as to what is the deeper meaning as to how does it have to do with me today. So I am going to start with that I choose to see beyond appearances and recognize the divine presence everywhere. Whew. Charles Fillmore's teaching was about teaching that appearances are not the ultimate reality. What we see out there on the news, on right there in the traffic, what we see and hear with our physical ears when we hear a siren go by, is not our reality. We are invited to look beyond the surface, beyond this physical, material world to something more deeper, and that's the spiritual truth that we keep talking about. So we're going to start with Genesis. And Genesis 28:16. It's about Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau were twin brothers. They did not get along at all. So Esau would have been attached more to the physical world. He was a hunter. He was more in the mental realm of the world. Jacob was always longing for something more. Jacob did some bad things to his brother. This section is too long to read the whole thing, but he did some bad things to his brother, so now his brother Esau, twin brother, is out to kill him. So Jacob runs away, and as he's getting to the town, I think it was Bethel, he decides he's going to lay down because he's tired. And he lays down on a rock, goes to sleep, and let's go to that. Next slide. Sleeping on a rock, and he's having a dream. And when he wakes up, but in his dream, he sees, remember you've heard Jacob's ladder? Okay, he sees a ladder or a staircase. And on that ladder or staircase, he sees angels going up and down, up and down. And he wakes up and he says, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. Think about your own life. Think about when you got hooked by whatever that circumstance was going on. You got hooked by somebody telling you a story or trying to get you looped into a political conversation. That's my sister, God love her. Every time I call her, we just love each other so much, but she just can't help it, right? And so she's wanting me to engage, right? And I am not going to engage because I know where that'll go. Let the fight begin, right? So, not really, but she's very strong-willed, and my way's the highway sometimes. That's the older sister syndrome, I think. Anyway, I'm losing track there. Okay, so this whole thing represents an aspect of us. Jacob represents our awakening consciousness. The stone represents the hardened beliefs that we've been carrying. Not that any of us would carry any hardened beliefs, but maybe you did in the past, or maybe when I first engaged with my sister, I might have had some hardening beliefs, but I didn't keep them near as long, right? The ladder symbolized, the staircase, the ladder symbolized is the connection between human awareness and the divine mind. This to me is key, people. You always hear me say, I have one foot in this human world that has a human experience, and it does involve pain because this is sense consciousness, but I also have a foot in the spiritual realm. And I travel both. And I don't like, 35 years ago, I had both of my feet firmly planted in the physical world. And everything that was happening to me was their fault, that fault, and I was the victim in everything. And some of you might have known me 34 years ago, if you attended a class with me, I would have argued with the minister to say that you don't know what's happened. You don't know about my life, right? Now I travel this way, and I have peace, because if I start to go this way, I'm out of right thinking, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I'm definitely not in peace. I'm giving more consciousness to the plow. Not the plow, the sword, to the sword. Here is the plow. And it takes both. That's what that was saying in the Daily Word today. It takes both. So anyway, the angels ascending up and down, anytime you see and hear angels in the Bible, they are higher consciousness. They are sending us messages to get it back into higher consciousness. And when he sees this, he realizes that everything he's done in his past hardened thinking and fighting with his brother and trying to get his father's attention and everything else that this man was doing to his brother was not. Why was he doing that? Because he had both feet in the sword. He forgot that there was a plow part of this. So the most important sentence that he said in that moment was, I did not know that God was here. God didn't suddenly arrive. Jacob finally became aware. That's my story. Anytime, in any situation, back 35 plus years, I now can tell you that. That is the truth. It wasn't God or Jesus came into my life. It was me becoming aware that God, Jesus, all the master teachers are right here within me. Within me. I have access to them 24 hours a day. Isn't that good news? Yes. You have access. I'm not special here, people. I'm traveling this same road with you. And I forget. And I need you to help me remember when I forget. And I hope I can help you remember when you forget, because that's part of being here in Earth School. So let's go now to the second verse that I found to support this. And it comes out of Luke 24:13 through 32. Two of the disciples are on the road to Emmaus. On the road to Emmaus, right? And they are, look at their faces. They are so down, depressed. They've lost hope. Can you relate? In any areas of your life, even when it's short moments. They are so down. They've lost all hope. Why? Because Jesus has been crucified. And what are they going to do now? What is going to happen? And they're just lost. And a stranger joins them. They don't recognize him. It's Jesus. But they don't recognize him. So they're walking along sad. And finally, they get to a place where, I'm just going to start here. I'm just going to tell you. Jesus represents the indwelling Christ. Always, always, in everything, all the time. People, this is principle 1, and it's actually moving to principle 2 in Unity's 5 principles. The I am, God is an I am, right? So, but they don't recognize it. And then the disciples' grief has blinded them, because anybody been in grief, loss, death of a loved one, or a loss of a job that you loved and you weren't expecting it, or loss of a relationship? It's the same thing. We get blinded. And for a moment, whether that's a moment or the moment is a year or 2 years, however long it takes, we lose sight that God is in everything I see. All the time. All the time. It wasn't until they sat down with the stranger, and the stranger took a loaf of bread and broke it. And as soon as they broke the bread, they saw the stranger was Jesus. Now, let's think about that. Bread represents spiritual substance. And it's not just physical food. It represents, in this deeper meaning, spiritual substance. Not just physical bread, substance, I need nourishment. It's spiritual nourishment. Our rigid beliefs, our expectations typically need to be broke open in order for us to awaken and grow our consciousness. Have you found that to be true? Or am I the only one that has the poster child for this? Okay, I'm going back to when I first walked in these doors here, and the minister and the classes, and then going out to Unity Village to take classes where they really are determined to break open your heart. I used to call it crack open my heart, crack it open, in order to get me to feel, because when I could feel, then I could open my mind and my consciousness to receive. But as long as I was the poster child for I am the victim, I could not open and crack open my heart. I know I'm sitting here looking at Sandy, because she took classes out at the village when the days when you had to go out there and spend 5 days and 40 hours of classes, and every time you went to Alicia, every time you went to a new class, you come out, half of us are crying, you know, and you're thinking, what? I spend a lot of money and time here to cry. Little did we know that this was making a life change for us. Because once, and I'll tell you, this is true, and I'm sure Sandy can relate to this. When we see you crying out there, you come through the line, and you're like, oh, this was just speaking to me. I'm like, thank you, God. Remember, yes, this is me in the early days of trying to figure out that God was in here and not out there, so I had to practice, thank you, God. Because I spent 40 years of going, thank you, God, or thank you, God. Lord, I am not worthy, right? For those of you who can understand that history, right? All right, let's go on to the third point. Psalm. Oh, that was the breaking of the bread picture. I forgot to call for that. Linda, I'm sorry. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is out of Psalm 139. And I couldn't help but pick it because they had a sailboat in it. And you know that Michael's trying to get us sailing, and he's doing his best through the fires and the smoke and winds and my microphone. Whoop, there we go. Is that better? Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall, this is trying to escape from spirit. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up to heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take wings in the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. no matter where you are, even when you're in hell. Hell is a state of consciousness. It's not a place you're going to. That's another whole metaphysical talk, isn't it, Sandy? But it's the truth. You know, oh my goodness. Do I want to go there? Not yet. I'm not going to go there yet. The divine is always looking back at you because God is in you and never stopped looking through you. God is always looking through you, people, not God looking at you. Seeing how you're performing. Are you being a good girl? Are you being a bad girl? No. God is in here and just saying all the time to Kathy, how'd that work for you? Choose again, right? Another talk. Oh my goodness, look out when I come back from sailing. God isn't somewhere else. God is expressing itself as life itself. That's principle number 2. Unity is principle number 2. In the 12 powers of unity, Charles Fillmore describes the spiritual power of understanding as our ability to perceive truth above appearances. It takes that faculty to recognize spiritual reality beneath what our physical eyes and ears report to us. Do your eyes and ears not always constantly reporting to you what you just saw, what you just heard them say? Let the gossip begin. I might be the only one that deals with that. Anyway, every day we can choose because, let's go to that next one. Because we become that which we behold. I'm going to tell you this story. I'm going to try to do it quickly. I thought I'd end early today, but I'm not doing a good job at that. But I want to tell you this story because I think it relates and you can relate to my life. Okay, most of you know Michael and I have 2 dogs. We have an Australian and then we have an Australian Shepherd mix of Golden Retriever as well. Okay, the Australian Shepherd, purebred, is 4 years old. The other one is 15. Okay, the 4-year-old, we live on 14 acres. We free range our dogs, which means they get to run in the woods. Well, the 15-year-old doesn't do that anymore. She likes laying on the porch. But the 4-year-old loves to do that. Now, if you understand woods or if you're walking in the woods, often nowadays, the burrs are like crazy. They want to stick to your clothes, everything. Well, anybody have dogs and know how burrs love to stick to their fur? Right? Okay, well now there are these burrs that are bigger now that are coming off the plants. And they're about like that, and they're prickly, real prickly. Oh, I'm like, I'm constantly pulling. I even got the scissors. Michael's like, don't take the scissors. Don't cut their hair. And I'm like, I can't take it anymore. Okay, well, the other night, Merlin I put him in the garage because they were wet. And so I'm going to go to bed, and all I can hear is, and I go in the garage, and it's the 4-year-old, and he's just laying on the ground, and I'm like, oh, God, right? And I'm like, oh, Merlin, what? And he's got those prickly things in his thing, and I'm like, oh, my God. You know what you do, dog owners, you stick your hand as far down their throat as you can because I'm thinking something's lodged, and that's nothing. And he's still just going like this. I let him outside, and he starts gobbling up this plant. And I'm like, I get my phone out because I have plant identifier to make sure it's not poison, but he's like eating it like candy. And it's actually medicinal. Bitter root. Look it up. I can't believe it. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, he's not eating poison. And he's still trying to, he's just eating, but he's swallowing. He's swallowing this. So then I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to rub his throat, and that's not, it's just going on. So, okay, so where am I? I'm in total fear, right? I love my dogs. And so I'm like, okay, so now I go and get a few of his crunchies that we call them as dog food. And I'm like, and he goes, swallows it down. So I'm like, okay, there's no blockage. He's breathing. And then I go and ask Alexa, what do you do when a dog is choking, right? And she says something, do chest compressions and try to put your hand down their throat, right? So now of course, he's laying on his back. He's an Australian. He loves to, but behind me, he's going, and I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And then I remember my daughter, when she was 4 years old, got a hot dog, piece of hot dog lodged in her throat. We called the life squad. She couldn't breathe. And they said, we're on our way, but right now, grab her by the heels, take her upside down, and walk her through the hall like this. I went and picked up this 55-pound dog, and I got a hold of his hind legs, and I'm like, nothing came out. I gave in. He's breathing. I don't want to go to the emergency vet because I know what's going to happen there. They're going to go x-rays, maybe even try to pump his stomach. But anyway, I'm like, okay, I don't know if you can see me. I'm like, okay, Merlin, you're okay. You're okay. And I started doing Reiki and healing touch on him. He's still going, but he's calming down. He's calming down. He actually even closed his eyes at one point, even though his tongue's hanging out. And I moved about 3 feet away from him, and he went boom, right up against me again. So I knew that the healing touch and the Reiki was doing something for him. When I got him calmed down, I finally went to bed. In the morning, he's still doing it, but he's not as bad. My dog is fine. He worked it through. Oh, I forgot to even tell you, he started eating carpet fibers. Anything he could do to try and get this whatever. So I think what he did was that he swallowed one of those, and it hurt his throat. And he didn't know what, right? Anyway, long story but what's that got to do with anything? It is about energy, people. And I'm going to go to that last side because last week I talked about energy as well. But I'm telling you, when you realize, important piece, before I did the Reiki, I am talking to my mom and dad, wherever they are, and I'm like, can you go get any vets that have passed on and bring them here and get all the angels of dogs to help me with this situation? Why not? What does it hurt? I believe they assisted in him calming down. So, anyway, it's energy, people. It wasn't my words. My attention shifted. My attention shifted from fear to trust. Because you cannot do Reiki and healing energy if you are not in right thinking. If you are not in right thinking, you should step away from the circle. Because we're clear on that. We don't practice that if we're not right. My energy speaks beyond words. Let's go to the affirmation. I hope today that I just brought you, again, another piece of when people say, oh, Unity doesn't believe in the Bible. Yes, we do. It's one of our master texts. Oh, Unity doesn't believe in Jesus. Yes, we do. He's one of our master teachers and way showers. But we also believe in many masters and teachers and way showers. It's not just one, right? So anyway, I wanted to just clarify that, and I hope that these talks are opening you up to realizing that unity and new thought is not just woo-woo stuff that somebody invented. It's backed up by religious texts from old language to bringing it into present day. So let's say our affirmation today. Today, I choose to see beyond appearances and recognize the divine presence everywhere. One more time. Today, I choose to see beyond appearances and recognize the divine presence everywhere. Namaste. That Christ presence in me truly sees and honors that Christ's presence in each and every single one of you, including our four-legged fur babies. And so it is. Thank you.